So we have a lot to update folks on. As usual, I really would like to start with the technical updates. Meta, are you on? There you are. I see your picture.
Hello, Greg.
Hi there. Are you ready to get some updates?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah.
I just need 1 second. It's been a busy morning. All right. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Terrific. Do have a few more updates that I'll speak to, and then I'll update the document afterwards. All
Cool.
right. So Node 6 specification, we are still meeting and reviewing the Node 6 scope of work. We had a discussion regarding validator rewards, and we need a board decision on this, Greg, so I'm bringing this to you. We've currently specified that validators will receive transaction fees only. So I have some questions here. Will they receive additional rewards? If so, where do those rewards come from? What is the size of the reward? How frequently is it distributed? The timing is urgent because we'd like to have answers for prospective node operators and validators prior to launch. So a test now is where we want to have those answers. So bringing that to your attention. Into the updates, a Rolang team. We're making great progress on deterministic unforgeable names. We're on track. There are some storage updates that go along with that hand in hand to make sure that what is stored in the tuple space is deterministic. So Henry's doing some of that work on his side, and the Rolang team, Kyle, is doing some work on his end. We've integrated Casper with RSpace, so that work is underway. The execution trace and history and rollback was delivered on schedule, and it's in the Casper team's hand now. That is on track for Node 5. We're also working on implementing support for the Ethereum addresses. That's the SecP 256K1 exposed to Rolang, so we can generate Ethereum-like addresses on the RChain blockchain. We have a specification for validators signing the Genesis block. So as you're all aware, there's a desire to have the Genesis block be signed by the validator set as a mechanism to audit and provide transparency around the ROC Rev token swap. So one of the features is that the Genesis block will be passed around to the validators as they join the network. And after a certain threshold of signatures is reached, that's when the network will go live. And so there's that's glossing over some of the details. There's a little bit more details in there, but that's the essence of what we're talking about. So there is a specification that Michael Birch of the protocol that Michael Birch has authored, and that's going to go in review. We're going to meet with folks on the development team later this week to review that. You can find that in the wiki. There's also some work being done on implementing the Blessed Rev contract. So we're making good progress. The wallet implementation of the wallet contracts is blocked while we wait for SecP 256K1. So we want to have the Ethereum type wallets to demonstrate as part of Node 5. Node storage team, again, very happy. Execution traces and history rollback was delivered on time to Casper team on Monday. We exited the sprint with that feature being available. They're now taking a step back and they're documenting everything that they've done. So creating a new set of documentation for RSpace. And Henry is deciding when he's going to cut another release. I'm open to him cutting a release either with the Node 5 timeframe or shortly thereafter. So we're going to be announcing that release once we have a date for it. We identified the issue in the peer-to-peer communications layer. So the fix was tested during node testing on Tuesday. and we're going to be patching Node, the Node 4 release, as well as pushing forward the fix in Node 5. And we're going to continue with this node testing every week. Pavel was very excited about the community engagement. And I just got off the phone with him, and I think we'll probably even start testing the latest and greatest changes off of the dev branch, right? And so we can kind of expand this node testing to include things much further than the communications layer, right? Even changes in Rolang, or updates in Rolang, deployment, Casper updates. So we can just pull the latest code off of the development branch and use that to run a test. So Pavel will be one of the participants, but we can actually open it up to include more tests so we can get weekly tests of the latest and greatest dev changes. So looking forward to participation there from all of you in the community, especially those of you that are prospective validators. It would be really good to understand how the software works. So I encourage you to join us 7 a.m. Pacific. Meet us in the node testing channel, and Kelly will be offering a Zoom channel. You can also probably get help on how to configure your node if you've not done it before. A lot of folks have gotten help on how to run the software, so I encourage everyone to join us. The Roscala team, primitives work is underway. The transition function is—
Hang on a second, Meta. Can someone, can other people mute while Meta is giving her update? Thanks, go ahead.
Thank you. So the primitives work is underway. Abner has been churning through a lot of the primitives for the project, so we're very excited to have his deep engagement on the project. We're working through some bugs in the threading implementation, so we have a threading implementation, but there are some issues with it, so Alex continues to make progress on what he's doing for multi-threading. The object code import into Rosette is in flight, so we're working on creating the objects and linking them to the code buffs. And we expect that PR to come later today. It's going to be a pretty big PR. It's a little hard to tease it out and still have a working implementation. So looking forward to that. The next step after importing the objects into Rosette will to run Rosette, make sure it's functional and everything looks good. Then we will turn our attention to importing those objects into Roscala. So nice progress on the VM at long last. I'm happy to report that. And then working on the mailbox or mbox's implementation of the actor system. So that's the last piece of the puzzle for the transition function to be complete. So website, we've got an update to the Rock Rev page. So this is the place to find accurate information. I have received some requests to the Rock Rev specification page. I have removed access for the general public to that page simply because we do not want any confusion between the internal specification and the public-facing information. So the public-facing information is on the developer.rchain.coop site. That is where you go to find the official message and what you need to do if you are a rock holder. Please go check that out. Check that page frequently. We will be announcing updates to that page here, but I strongly encourage everyone to check that page frequently for updates. Registration for RCon 3 is open. There is an early bird special for registrations made before July 31st. There's also a special rate for students. We will be launching testnet at this conference, so if you want to be there when the testnet launches, please join us. We're also reaching out to prospective validators and node operators, and we hope that they will also join us. We're also going to be running through the Genesis launch ceremony as part of the testnet launch, so we'll get to have a dry run of how the validators will be signing the Genesis block. So that is all going to be part of RCon 3. That's the extent of my update. I will open it up for questions.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First question is, will the co-op or other organizing parties be buying up domains starting now to avoid these phishing attacks?
It's a good thought. It's kind of hard, but we certainly, if someone wants to come forward with a fairly detailed proposal about which domains we want to buy, it's a good idea.
Okay, and the second question is, you said that you're reaching out to potential validators. What does that mean?
So I'm not specifically doing that, but Deanna Duke probably will give an update on her end. She's working with Kelly on those initiatives. That there is definitely an initiative to to recruit and find validators and node operators. So I wish I could give you more details on that, but I don't have a lot of visibility right now. It's just the project is just starting. I'm sure that we'll have.
I would echo that. I mean, we just met as a coordinated group, recognizing the need for coordination last week, and that group includes people from Pyrofex and the co-op and other interested parties. We need to get Ventures and Pythia involved in that as well. But at this point, it's this idea that we need to recruit validators. There's an element of training that's involved. We want to take keen advantage of what's going to happen at RCon 3 to assure a good mainnet launch and manage expectations, because right now there still are a lot of open questions that are being solved actively. So that work is very much in its infancy and is ongoing.
Yeah, and there are some significant updates to add to that, which I'll get to after we've had the technical update.
Is there any?
Deanna, before we leave that topic, another issue that's been coming up a lot is validator pools, staking pools. Is that a part of your radar?
That's definitely on the radar, Alan. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yes, it's absolutely something we want to support. Sure.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the mechanisms, I mean, if you want to talk a little bit about mechanics in terms of how we want to engage with validators, the Tuesday morning node testing or node, working with the node, those sessions is going to be a great way to have people that are going to be operating a node to start getting engaged with the software now, giving us feedback, trying to run their dApps, right? We really, really need users and both end users, developers, and node operators engaging with the software to give us feedback, right? So we can flesh out, right? So I can't emphasize this enough that we need everybody to use the software, right? Because
that's how QA happens.
That's how QA happens. That's ultimately how, and I'm saying this is 20 years as being a director of QA, right? So this is ultimately as best as we can try to think of all the test cases. I'm sure there are plenty out there that we have not thought through. So please do join us Tuesday mornings.
And so I want to make this point sort of emphatically, both to Pythia and to Reflective. For those companies that are expecting to build on RChain and are expecting to receive support for how to build on RChain, this is the first go-to effort. Like everybody from Life ID to Resonate should have people at these node testing Tuesdays, learning. This is their time to learn how to stand up a node because they're going to be needing to stand up nodes.
Yeah, good point, Greg. We've sent a list of names to Kelly, so we'll continue to reinforce any messaging that we can get from marketing and from technical.
Awesome, very good.
And
this is Chris from Life ID. We will dedicate a person to this, by the way. We would love to have a full-time person helping stand up validators.
Okay, fantastic, very good.
Are these meetings open? As in, should I be there to record them on Tuesdays? I didn't even know this was going on. This seems like very important work.
I don't know that it's I mean, it's an active working testing session. So it's people, I guess there's learning to be had. And even if you're not participating hands-on, you can certainly come and learn from the experience.
What we ought to do is just simply just record it, and then we don't have to release it. We don't have to live stream it, but we can then trawl through it and look for little nuggets, right? Little moments, which are teachable moments, and then we can put those out as educational materials.
Okay, I'll sync with you then on that, Christian. See if
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, there is a Zoom, like I said, there's a Zoom session that is open, and we've had many times where people have joined the session, and while the developer may be actively working on a specific use case or test case with folks in the node team, if somebody joins the session and needs help, we've even had community members go off and side channel and say, let me help you with that. I know what the solution is to that. And that provides great feedback and input into us in terms of how the user experience is deficient or what we can do to make the software easier to use. Because there is a certain amount of in the fishbowl mentality that happens. And because we're always working with the software, we eventually become numb or blind to the user experience. So the more new people that join and the more folks that engage, we get a very clear signal on what needs to be improved in the software.
Absolutely. Your confusion and complaints are our food.
Exactly. Any other questions that I can answer at this time?
Is that Zoom room going to be the same every time? I'm looking in node testing right now, and I see Kelly posted the link for yesterday's. Will that be the same?
Possibly. I'm not willing to commit to that just yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's get the thing with Christian sorted out, and then we can figure that out.
All right.
So I just wanted to add. Peter Harris stepped forward. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. And said that he felt that the $700 price tag for entry into Archon 3 was going to prevent a lot of the Berlin folks that should be there from being there. And I mentioned to Peter something that sort of hasn't been talked about to the community yet, but that's been on our radar for a while, that there will be a number of promo codes that will represent some significant discounts for getting into the conference. So in particular, we want, Ich bin ein Hacker promo code. So we'll give more details as we flesh this out, but it will involve, committing Roland code to a repo and verifying that Roland code. And that will establish one as a Roland hacker. That will represent a significant discount to Archon 3. Likewise, Ich bin ein Berliner promo code will represent a discount, and various other promo codes will be discounted. We'll provide some discounts to getting in. So we fully want to support, the platform co-op community in Berlin and around the world. We fully want to support those folks who are hackers and developers who want to be present. At the same time, we also know that in order for these conferences to be sustainable, people really have to start finding ways to contribute. So whether it's through hacking or through dollars or crypto of some kind, the events have to become sustainable over time. If the co-op is always footing the bill for everything, then the co-op's coffers will be drained. So we have to find a way that people can contribute to making these conferences a success.
Speaking of co-op coffers, something that Meta didn't bring up, but I'd like to get addressed at some point. We have to start implementing the contracts that will do rewards for validators. And there's still no consensus from the board on how exactly that's going to work, whether it's paying rewards out of the co-op's coffers or whether it's inflating the rev. Right now there's an upper bound of
no, absolutely. So the board resolution is clear, and that's been known. It's absolutely through issuance. So if there are technical issues to work through, we'll have to work through them. But issuance is the proposed mechanism.
Yeah, that makes the most sense to me. I mean, how you.
So there are technical issues that we understand, and this is why we've talked about seniorage and other things. But issuance has been the proposed mechanism for over a year. So we can work through what the consequences of that are, but we should probably do that offline.
Okay.
Now, if you paid it out of the co-op's coffers, then you'd make the co-op disappear in less than a year.
Well, that's one possible thing. What is the role of the co-op beyond the launch of the network? What is that's something for the co-op to decide.
Yeah. No, but that's also been clear. The co-op is the steward of the network. So
I don't understand what steward means.
So this is the first publicly owned, publicly operated network, right? So the co-op members are hopefully predominantly the folks that are in charge of all policy around network, including fees, features, and other matters that require network governance.
Right. Or you can fork it, right? That's take the code and then go your own direction, right? That's
exactly. But what we're hoping is that it becomes much, much, much cheaper to participate in governance process, and much more rewarding to participate in governance process than to fork the network. But these are all great questions. This is wonderful stuff. Okay, Meta, is that the technical update?
Yes, it is. If there's no further questions, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. Before we move to getting updates from Pythia and Reflective, I was wondering, are there any other updates on RCon? Kelly, do you have any other things we might want to mention?
Sure. Pleased to announce we had a call for volunteers earlier this month for people to participate on a scholarship committee to help make recommendations for the distribution of funds to support people attending the conference. And very pleased to announce that we have a 9-member committee that is agreed to do the work that will happen for them later in July. The scholarship program is accepting applications. You can go to the RCon 3 webpage on developer.rchain.coop to see that application. There's a FAQ there to learn more about the program, and that application window is open through, didn't do my flashcards. I'll post it in the chat window in a minute. And then we'll make decisions on distributions of those funds late in July, notifying applicants as of August 1st. So really looking forward to support that. Plans still are in progress on the presentations in the program. Admittedly, that has gone by the wayside for me over the past week and a half due to other work that's happening on the development team, but I have plans to pick it up this week. And so if I have a email or a message outstanding from you, many apologies. I'm digging out of the hole. Other than that, I think that's all, Greg. Are there other questions that you've heard?
No, that was a great update. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Okay, so moving right along, who wants to go first, either from Reflective or Pythia?
I'll start it off.
Okay.
So I just came back from the Valley, another good weekend of meetings. Probably another 5 companies we'll add into our pipeline, about 70 companies. Roland and Navneet will go into some details on companies that are coming through. The general feeling that we're again getting is that they like the fact that people can build on RChain as a platform and in a different way because of the scalability and things that they're hearing. More marketing is better. So just some thoughts there. We will be starting open office hours at UW in the next month in the summer. So we'll publish when those are so that we can get local entrepreneurs as well as some of the companies that are in the tech transfer area that are interested in using blockchain. So we're continuing to build out relationships there. I think that's all from sort of the top level stuff, and I'll let Roland and Navneet go into some deep dives.
Well, yeah, so this is Roland Waters, also from Pythia. So rather than doing a deep dive on a single company, because we have a number of companies that are in late stages of due diligence right now, I want to talk a little bit about, because of the performance goals of RChain, as Lawrence mentioned, we're seeing an increasing amount of activity or interest from people in the ad tech industry who, of course, have insanely large throughput needs. And they also have a big problem of transparency and tracking, because there's whether it's tracking because I want to know details about this content that my ad may appear on, or vice versa. I don't want that kind of advertising appearing on my content. You need a lot more public visibility into who people really are and what they represent. So that's one side, just in terms of maintaining coherence between the needs of the publishers and the needs of the advertisers. And the other one, which has a fairly high financial cost to both publishers and advertisers, it comes from 2 areas. 1, inefficiencies in the market, and 2, literal fraud by people imitating their publisher. and actually using bots to claim a percentage of the revenue stream that should legitimately go to a publisher, but in fact is never displayed anywhere. So both of those, we're seeing a number of companies coming in and saying, hey, we really like the RChain performance goals and help us help you guys by letting us provide technology into the ad market. Navneet, do you want to add anything to that?
I can throw some numbers. I mean, I think, did you cover those? Not yet.
No, Lawrence covered those.
Okay, so I think, I don't have anything else to cover. Thanks.
Okay, great, thanks. Reflective. Greg, are you on the call?
I am here.
Awesome.
Thanks, Greg. I guess the first thing coming up next week on the 26th, we're going to be in San Francisco working presenting rather at Future of Blockchain. Greg, you're going to be joining me down there on that. We expect a really good crowd. I think they're saying between 100 and 200 people are planned to go to that event. So it is going to be streamed live. So we'll put a link up through the Reflective site, and we'll have Patrick help us push it out to the community for those that are interested. It's going to be an interesting format as well. I think it's Greg and I both spoke with the organizers, and they're setting this up differently than most events that I've seen. So we're looking forward to that. So again, that's next Tuesday, the 26th in San Francisco. Also on Tuesday, one of our portfolio companies, Rubica, that the guys talked about last week, they're the security side of things. They're going to be doing something here in Seattle at Pioneer Square Labs, where they're going to be talking about cybersecurity. So anybody that's in Seattle or interested can certainly come to that event, and we'll post something for that as well. We've talked about the 15 companies that we've got under contract and are done. There's 3 that we gained from our trip to Boston 2 weeks ago that we're super excited about, coming out of the Harvard Innovation Labs, and I think one of them out of MIT as well. So we'll talk more about those guys in the next couple of weeks, but we plan to have them booked and complete and in the next couple of weeks. Some of the deals that we're looking at, just the fractional ownership platform is increasingly interesting to us. There's something pretty cool happening in the decentralized fan aggregation and engagement and ownership side of things. And then we're getting very close to terms with the voting side that we're going to be using with the RChain governance vote that's going to be coming up soon. So look for more on that as well. And one thing I wanted to throw out to the community, and I don't want to burn a bunch of time here on the update call going through prospective companies, but let us know the best way that we can to inform everybody in the community about what's happening with the companies, where they're at. We started posting press releases on everyone, and that got to be a little tiresome. So we're doing blog posts. We're going to be doing a lot more to promote them, but certainly DM any of us here on this call or at Reflective about how we can get more information to you. Of course, our website's got all of them up there, but we really want as much engagement as possible so you guys can see what we're sort of doing. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Mrinal for the latest partnership that we just struck with one of those companies. So go ahead, Mrinal.
Hey, everyone. The latest deal we just closed is with Switch. The website is switch.io, just like a switch, but with a Y instead of the I. So let me lay out the problem statement and tell you how they're trying to solve it. When you think of, the change from carbon heavy to carbon neutral or low carbon energy sources, billions have been spent by governments to incentivize renewables. There's been a lot of top-down legislation, but we've seen the results. Nothing has really happened, and there's been close to no success because of this. And the founding team of Switch decided the reason for this is there's a lack of a global and easily tradable incentive mechanism. There's an inability to efficiently verify and secure production data at the source. And there's a dearth of quality public data on where and how renewable energy is produced. in short form, there really hasn't been a free market solution to this problem. Everything's been top-down, governmental, and legislative, which really, as we've seen, does not work at all. So they're creating a free market carbon credit trading system, which could enable extremely fast uptake. We're really, really impressed with the team. The co-founders are Evan Caron, who's the CEO. He spent 15 years trading commodities out of Texas. He's also worked at private equity funds and knows the energy trading space across all energy types very, very well. His co-founder is John Clippinger out of the MIT Media Labs, a very renowned scientist. I just posted his Wikipedia page in the chat. He's been working for years in token economics, as well as a variety of fields such as governance systems, bioreplication, cybernetics, information theory, etc. Steve and myself had a great lunch with him when we were out in Boston, and Greg M., you in particular, would get along with him really well. We'll try and set up a meeting at some point.
Oh, sweet.
Very, very, yeah, he's extremely exciting person to speak with. And their COO, Andrew Pearson, actually also worked at Bain & Company, Boston, where I started my career. So overall, we're really, really excited about it. We posted the press release to Discord, and I know Patrick has also released it out to the public. But if anyone wants to know more about the company, let us know. And their token sale is actually going on right now. So if anyone's interested, you could go to the website and participate. Please note that this is not investment advice. Any questions?
That's great news. That's great news. I'm particularly excited about both categories of opportunities that have been identified both by Pythia and Reflective. It's very interesting. I also have someone Alex, are you on the call? We had someone from CNE Network who has done some interesting work and is looking in carbon reduction. And I was hoping he might join us and give I met with him today, and he might give an update because there looks like an interesting opportunity there. But maybe he's not on the call today. All right. Well, I'd like to introduce him to you guys, because I think that might be another opportunity for you folks to take a look at. Go ahead. Yeah, good. So thanks for those updates. Any more thoughts on Deal Day, when that might be happening?
Yeah, we are. We're working on that right now. And Greg, you saw the state of our office right now. So as soon as we get it fully ready to roll, we're still hoping probably last part of July, first part of August. We've got the format in place, and now it's a matter of finding the date, and we'll let everybody know well in advance.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, speaking of offices, I have been working with the designer, and our house is coming along nicely. We will have our conference table installed hopefully at the end of the week, and I also spent some time getting the library set up. So when hackers are there, they will have some of the best reference materials in computer science and mathematics to take a look at and inspire them. So I know what it's like. It takes a while to get an office set up. So now I want to give another update that's related to the validator onboarding. So there was a board meeting this past Friday, and the major update on the board meeting was that we have allocated 80 million ROC for securing validation for the network. So with this, I want to be very, very clear. This is not like a sale. We are going to make the ROC available for those people who will commit to they're focused on validating the network. So with this, we're hoping very much to have a contractual relationship between the co-op and these validators. So they'll need to come forward with a hardware provisioning plan, which either they're going to manage or they're going to provision through an approved providers. They're going to talk about the node management and the personnel that are going to be engaged in the node management, either personnel that they're overseeing directly or again through approved providers, or we're also going to expect a staking period somewhere in the vicinity, but don't hold me to this, but somewhere in the vicinity of 12 to 18 months. Again, this is not a sale in the traditional sense, where this is a rock that's being put up specifically for those parties that are going to commit to staking the network. We're looking at, we're right now looking through the limits on stake. Limits that have been discussed are a minimum of about 1,500 and a maximum of about 1 million eventually rev to stake the network. So people should be aware of that, and we're expecting a sort of standard-ish distribution with respect to the tail versus the whales. And so let me, I'm sure there's maybe some questions about that. So let me open up this to discussion. Any questions about what the intent is here, or how we want to take care of this?
So is the idea here that people are buying their stake early and it will be harder to, it'll cost more to stake later?
Yeah, and in particular, right, you could, where are you going to get your stake from right now? You're going to go to KuCoin or Oasis Dex? There's just the volume isn't there to get your stake. So this is opening it up to those parties who are quite serious about staking the network.
Is there a dollar price for those rock?
We'll release that when we release the full detailed prospectus on the opportunity.
What's the filtering process? How do you begin to, it seems like you're trusting people like huge amounts of power on the network. I mean, you want a healthy ecosystem of validators, right? You want probably at least 1 to 2,000 within the first 6 months, right? So
what we're targeting is an average. This is an average staking of about 50,000 per individual. That's average, right? And that means we need and we want about 10% of the network volume staked. So that means we need about 1,741 validators involved in the staking process.
Greg, quick question. Where does the number 10% come from?
We can probably get by on 5%, but in terms of security of the network, that feels more or less safe if you run the numbers.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So what will happen to existing rock holders or the people who already bought the rocks in private sale in the past?
They should see a significant increase in their position. And they may also be, a part of the staking process. That was sort of their commitment to in the private sales. Those people who bought in, one of their commitments was that either they would be running a node, staking or staking the network, or doing some other participation within the co-op.
So again, my question would be, how do you begin the filtering process? Because I imagine, like, if you create a Google form or some sort of system where people can come in and explain who they are, asking for whatever you want to call this process, a grant or whatever it is. I'm not sure.
Oh, it's not a grant. They have to pay to buy the rock, right?
Oh,
They're not.
Okay. So
we're not giving away 80 million rock. No.
Oh, it's
No.
okay. I misunderstood. So
Yeah, that's a good question.
This isn't it's not. It's, okay. Okay. Is there like legal liability there? I mean.
Well, we want the relationship to be contractually shored up. That's the ideal situation.
I see. So they have to stake. That's part of the contract. Like
yeah, that's right. So like they're giving us some asset, Ether, Bitcoin, US dollars, whatever. We're giving them rock, and as a part of that exchange, they are committing to staking the network.
Interesting.
Greg, if I can add one more thing, that as we talked about, keep in mind that all of these people will be KYC'd thoroughly. So that's another thing, Christian, to your point. We'll be taking care of that.
Right. And that's so this is actually going to be more significant than the KYC process for the private sales. So we're going to go through essentially what is both KYC and a contractual negotiation, right? So there'll be
so are
diligence.
you restricting those validators to the U.S.? If not, what is the contingency plan if they don't validate?
Yeah, so that's
is there any way to reclaim the rock? Are they going to be put in a wallet? If they're in
yes. Thank you. That's a very good point. So another piece of the puzzle is that the rock is locked until the network goes live, and then at that point they get it just becomes converted to rev via the airdrop mechanism.
Greg,
go for it. No, go for it, man.
Okay, thank you. Would you want there to be some kind of requirement that there's members of the validator set that participate in this program, that their rev be locked per the contract with respects to unbonding?
So again, what we're hoping is that yes, so that I'm just to be super clear, they won't be able to unbond except according to the terms of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I will need to see the terms of the contract and see if we need to encode any of that in the bonding contract itself, the actual code.
That's exactly right. So that will have an impact on.
I see. So it won't actually be part of the airdrop. It will have to be part of the Genesis block.
It will be a part of the Genesis block, which is yeah. The Genesis block is the way we're doing the airdrop, right?
Yes.
The only difference here is
a personal account.
No, it will be a personal account. It will be a staking account. That's correct.
So I guess my question as well, because we're in a bear market now, which is a good opportunity for some people. If I'm a potential person who's interested in validating, I'm giving up a significant asset, right? I mean, Bitcoin, you can talk about what you want about Bitcoin, but it's still pretty significant in the market. So my question is, I mean, if I'm interested in running, validating on the network, what am I getting in return? I mean,
so you get the transaction fees, and there will be validator rewards.
Okay, but those numbers, aren't they like in the contract? Like, will that be spelled out before I sign, or?
Yes, it will be. It will be a part of a prospectus that we make available to those parties that are interested.
And will that also be public information to the community as well? Or is this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's no reason why the prospectus can't be made publicly available. But the prospectus will include hardware specifications, expected performance, all of the information. Basically, this is going to be treated just as if you were running a business, right? When is it going to be profitable?
Understood. Makes sense. Great. I'm looking forward to those numbers.
Yeah, likewise. We're working as fast as we can to put these together.
And what is the requirement, hardware or software requirement for that?
So that will all be laid out in the prospectus.
Greg, are you expecting any of those validators that join the prospectus to be able to share their staking, like as in a staking pool?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's perfectly reasonable for a group to get together and take this on. It's the same thing that happened during the private sales, right? Groups of investors banded together and bought rock together. Ideally, these pools are going to have some kind of structure to them, right? So if it's an unstructured group of individuals, then it will be hard for them to have a contractual relationship with the co-op.
It seems like an opportunity to build a fairly significant business.
That's right. Awesome.
Any idea, Greg? Question: when this prospectus, you know?
Yes. So just so that people are aware, the sale or the opportunity goes live with testnet, because that gives us just the amount of time we need to make sure that we have everyone on board by the time we have mainnet. So the prospectus will come out before testnet. So hopefully by the 1st of August, the prospectus will be made available.
Great. Also, I guess part of the conference, I'm sure that will be a lot of significant talk around this at the conference. It's really interesting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I'm very excited. I think this is going to be a significant opportunity, right? And we really, really need this is the biggest moment, right? This is the moment of biggest risk. Can we get enough people to secure the network, right? So it's one thing to have the technology. It's one thing to prove the numbers out. But even with all of that, unless we get the will from the community that's interested in this network to, put their money where their mouth is and say, "Yep, I'm going to stake this network," then the whole system, can come apart at the seams. So this is the moment, right? Is securing the network, staking the network. So we want to put as much effort behind this as possible. Again, I think what's likely if we look at the dynamics of the way this has happened in the past, there's going to be a lot of folks from crypto who understand the opportunity and jump on it. But what we really need to do as a community is to expand that the folks that are interested in staking the network to other constituencies, other groups, other organizations, right? I would love to have the city of Seattle staking the network, and Deanna is working on that. I would love to have Jay-Z or Bernie Sanders staking the network. I would love to have the Ethereum Foundation staking the network. So we need to really think outside the box in terms of how we secure this network. If it's just the tiny little crypto community, it's not going to be very secure. And we'll see the dynamics of that unfold. We need to push outside. We need to expand the boundaries here and get a wide range of parties interested in securing the network. Obviously, over time, if the network succeeds and grows, then there will be more and more entities that are bonding in the network. But this initial moment is we don't get this ever again. So we really should make the best of it. Any other questions about this? Going once. Going twice. Awesome. Okay, so let's check in on the time. We have about 10 minutes. Alan, I know you, last time we didn't talk about the bounty program.
Greg,
if you want to.
Yeah, thanks so much, Greg. There was a meeting of the executive committee. The minutes are published. There's a task committee that includes Deanna and Patrick and Dan Connolly. We had a great meeting at the RAM this morning. That's also online. You can see the recording of it. So that's been a big help. The other issue that I'd like to talk about is issue 755, where we are following actually the design of computational calculi class. So this is Greg's series of 10 lectures. It's, I would say, a very inspirational set of lectures. Jake Gilberg has set up a GitHub called RChain Collaborative Learning. So that's one group, one method of following along. And we've got 3 groups that are concurrently trying to follow along at perhaps different levels. We've recruited a very, very prolific contributor, a prolific contributor, Ivan Gulovich. And there's a team in Nigeria that's also working as a group. But in terms of our desire to add value to the cooperative, this is a project that people might want to look at. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so I had a conversation about a week or so ago about the setting the measurable goals for the bounty system, and sort of one recommendation was that in fact the co-op should just do that, and then the bounty system would then have to comply. I had hoped it would be more collaborative, and that we could go back and forth on that. But where are we in terms of?
So we had a discussion now that Patrick and Deanna are involved. We have a lot of additional talent in terms of defining what metrics there are. My personal metrics are a little bit skewed. I found that working within the bounty system has been very personally rewarding because meet people that are talented, that are excited, that are energized, and trying to focus on the value that we can add to the cooperative. So my personal metric is those kinds of relationships that we've developed. But I think that Deanna is going to work with some of the spreadsheets that we've developed, some of the other tools that we've developed to make metrics that are maybe more numbers oriented.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, that's good news.
Thanks.
No, thank you for the update.
I wanted to chime in on that point as it related to the metrics. The executive committee met on the bounty system specifically around figuring out how we could produce some KPIs and reporting, and I thought it was a good idea to at least start with development. But just frankly, there's a lot of work to be done. The reporting that's been given is it's in depth, but it doesn't summarize very well how bounties are spent per category. And so there is a huge marketing spend, which is not in line with the efforts of the stakeholders from the cooperative that have, that are leading the marketing efforts. So there's a lot more to be done, and we need to discuss it further. But I think a good step toward KPIs is, one, having the stakeholders then give sort of guidance on what bounties are needed, and within that subset of stakeholders, start with development.
Yeah, Kevin, to add to that point, the marketing organization is actually meeting tomorrow on specifically that topic, how best to distribute what exists within the plan that we made public in a way that the community can be involved, but we still have clear KPIs that result in an ROI against our budget allocated for those tasks, as opposed to kind of things that may seem more frivolous if they're not measured in a disciplined manner, such as, like, I don't know, translations for things that the data doesn't necessarily say we have people speaking that language.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question that is
Please do.
different? This is actually, it's not from the bounty program, but this goes back to the prospectus and the validator onboarding. Is it fair to say that until the prospectus is released, any interested people and validators, the best source of information will be that Tuesday stand-up at 7 a.m.?
So I would say the Tuesday part is really about the technical part. It's not about the economics.
Okay.
Right. So you can infer some economics from the technical, but not all of the economics.
Right. So the perspectives will be like the why, and then the stand-up is kind of like the how. So we
something
still
like
should.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because we still need like solid documentation around the how, and for us, So for us in marketing, it would be best if we got heavily involved in the stand-ups and engaged with Pyrofex and the team to develop that documentation.
That's for sure. But also, right, we're going to need a very, very serious concerted marketing effort to get the word out about this, the staking the network. Right. I mean, really, we all need to be concerned about this. Like, everybody here who wants this network to succeed needs to know that the network is actually staked.
I have another question, Greg. Is there? I mean, there's obviously reputational risk in having the co-op, right, run a bunch of nodes early on. But will that, in terms of emergency, just to get the network up and running, would it be okay to centralize the, at first? I mean, in a worst case scenario, do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, we've already thought about this. So
Okay.
yes. So So actually, what's going to happen is, at a minimum, both Pyrofex and the co-op are going to be running nodes.
Right. Okay.
So we're building out node services both in the Utah facilities as well as in Seattle. Likewise, and so unless that segues to another point, and I'd like to get to that. Unless there are other questions. Mike, did you have a question?
Oh, I just hadn't heard any solid details on whether the co-op itself was going to be running validators.
Oh, yes, the co-op is going to be running validators, and so we fully expect there to be a balance, right? So in some sense, because it's one member, one vote, and the membership decides who's on the board, and the board serves at the pleasure of the membership, having the co-op run a bunch of nodes still satisfies decentralization. If you further balance that out with a bunch of other parties, such as Pyrofex or Reflective, or all of the dApps, and all of these other people that stake the network, that feels to me like it's beginning to get a balanced distribution of validators and still meet the goals of decentralization. So to that end, the other piece of the puzzle is that PKMG is still reviewing the next revision of the bylaws for the RChain Europe. And then we're in the middle of writing up the business plan. We have to have, in order to have the co-op registered, we're going to have also a business plan and a finance plan. We're in the middle of writing up the business plan, and that also includes a section on RChain Europe providing validators as well. So, and again, these are autonomous organizations. RChain Europe is wholly, its own operations, separate from RChain US, and they will be running validators, and that's a part of their revenue stream. So so again, we're attempting to balance out, making sure that there's enough opportunity for an organization like PyroFX that it makes sense for them to go after the validator business, but also to make sure that the cooperatives can provide some balance and some governance to the network and input on the network as well. So getting all these dynamics is a little bit tricky. But RChain Europe is part of that. Once that's up and running, there should also be RChain South America, RChain Africa, RChain Pacific. These are all places where we'll have co-ops established, and the cooperative will be involved in staking the net. Those cooperatives will be involved in staking the network. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, Greg. I just one question: will the co-op be investing in actual like server hardware and things like that?
Yes.
Okay, and will the location of these like sort of data centers or whatever be like made publicly available?
That's a great question. I mean, it's a really good question because I mean, we want to be able to prove that it exists, but we also want to keep it secure. So
the guys at EOS are putting it in like military grade. You know, those guys are hosting. They have their own racks, but they're in like military bunkers, right? Like,
yeah, understood. Yeah, I totally get it. So these are wonderful questions, and we'll be working through them as we go. That's fantastic. So hopefully people have gotten enough of an update about RChain Europe and its progress. Any other questions about RChain Europe? Awesome. Well, with that, I think we've hit all of the major updates I wanted to hit. So thanks very much for everyone's participation. I think we're moving at light speed. It's just incredible how many things are coming together. At some point, I really would like members who are interested to see how fast Resonate is taking off. The Resonate cooperative is building on top of RChain. They're providing a touring and booking service, as well as a streaming service, as well as a very interesting application of identity. So I strongly encourage people to join the Friday calls. These happen Friday a.m. Pacific time, 8:30 to 9:30. And Christian can get you the Zoom room for people who are interested. And what's about to come down the pipe in terms of new streaming capability, new codecs, and the quality of experience will blow you away. That's all I can say. I can't say much more, but you are about to be blown away. So please feel free to join those calls. They're a lot of fun, and yeah, I think with that we can call it. Thanks so much, Greg, to everyone. Yeah.
Greg, can I make a real quick announcement?
Oh yeah, please do.
That we're looking at the 28th as a possible delivery for the espresso machine at our house, and along with that delivery, there will be some training involved for anyone who wants to be a barista. I know you're all dying to do that. So we don't know what time on the 28th yet. It's not completely for sure. And also I'm trying to find out if Reflective wants the same date. So 28th, if any of you have time, email me or let me know that you want to be trained, and you don't have to wear funny clothes or anything.
Oh, well, I was hoping to wear funny clothes. So the other thing is, if we could do it in the mid to late afternoon, that would be ideal for me.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but it'll be wear your best stuff actually, because it'll be videoed.
Yeah, fantastic. And Christian, are you back in town for then? Will you be able to help with the video?
Yeah, I'm actually I was talking to Rudy during the call about that. So yeah, you just got to sort it out. I'll be back on that Monday, and or yeah, basically Monday morning. Basically, so we have that 3 days, right? To basically plan. So we'll sort this out. Let's do it. Get it done.
Fantastic. This is awesome. I also before I sign off, I just want to mention that I am here in Conroe, Texas, visiting my grandmother, who is just shy of 104.
Whoa.
She still walks on her own 2 feet without the use of a cane. She's still quite lucid and really just a joy to be around. I just have to say she's very much a testament to our species. Really a remarkable woman, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to visit her at this stage of her life.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I envy the lucid part. Maybe
yeah, me too. I'm wondering how she does it. With that, guys, I'm gonna sign off and see you guys next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.